You ever think a sauna is just a place to relax and sweat out your worries? Yeah, me neither, until I got trapped in one for 72 hours with a glowing alien commander who thinks squats are some kind of intimate ritual. Hi, I'm Jake Thompson, human maintenance tech A. See, it all started drawing button on a control panel covered in SQ. But then, she agrees to do squats with me. Yeah, you read that right. Squats. In a sauna. With me. If you think that sounds like the start of a bad joke, buckle up. Because things only got sweatier from there. Welcome to Alien Whispers, where thrilling HFY fiction springs to life. Embark on epic sci-fi journeys where humans defy alien doubters, steal the hearts of fierce cosmic warriors, and rise as heroes in bold, steamy intergalactic romances. If you enjoy the story, please consider subscribing. Trapped 72 hours in a sauna with an alien beauty. Her request left me blushing and breathless. Jake Thompson wiped the sweat from his brow, his calloused fingers slipping on a wrench as he wrestled with the sauna's control panel. At 30, he was the only human maintenance tech on the Nebula Queen, a luxury cargo ship run by an all-female Zorathian crew. He wasn't a genius with tech. His skills leaned more toward brute strength and finesse. But years of gym workouts had given him a physique that turned heads, broad shoulders, chiseled arms, and a six-pack that strained against his damp work shirt. Right now, though, all that muscle wasn't helping him decipher the glowing, alien symbols on the panel. The sauna was a masterpiece of Zorathian design. Its walls shimmered with crystalline panels that pulsed softly, bathing the room in a warm, golden glow. Steam curled from hidden vents, filling the air with a faint, herbal scent that made Jake's nose twitch. It was the crew's favorite spot to unwind, which meant the pressure was on to fix the busted ventilation system before they started complaining again. Jake muttered under his breath, "If I screw this up, I'm toast." He'd been at it for an hour, poking at wires and buttons that looked like they belonged in a sci-fi movie. The ventilation system was overheating, sending bursts of scalding steam into the already sweltering room. His shirt was soaked, clinging to his torso like a second skin, and sweat dripped into his eyes. "Come on, you alien junk," he grumbled, squinting at a cluster of squiggly symbols. He wasn't trained for this. His last job was fixing hoverbikes on a dusty colony planet, not tinkering with tech from a species that probably invented spaceships before humans discovered fire. Jake reached for a button that looked vaguely promising, a blue one with a spiral pattern. Nothing happened. He tried another, then another, his frustration growing with each failed attempt. Then he spotted a large red button with a jagged symbol that screamed important. "Maybe this one," he said, hesitating. His gut told him to leave it alone, but his gut also told him to eat tacos for breakfast, so he ignored it and pressed the button. Instantly, alarms blared, a deafening wail that made him jump. Red lights flashed, casting eerie shadows across the sauna. Green smoke hissed from the panel, smelling like burnt circuitry. Before Jake could react, the heavy doors slammed shut with a thunderous clang. A cold, robotic voice echoed through the room. "Survival lockdown engaged. Doors will remain sealed for 72 hours or until humidity reaches 90%. Jake's heart sank. No, no, no. He rushed to the door, pounding on it with his fists. "Hey, anyone out there? I am stuck." The soundproof walls swallowed his shouts. He slid to the floor, his back against the door, and buried his face in his hands. "I'm dead. They're gonna fire me. Or worse, feed me to whatever Zorathians eat for lunch." He replayed the moment in his head, cursing his clumsiness. The Nebula Queen was a floating palace, hauling exotic goods across the galaxy, and he was the guy who'd just locked himself in its fanciest room. He'd only been on the ship 6 months, hired after a desperate pitch at a spaceport job fair. The Zorathian recruiter had said, "We need someone adaptable." Jake had nodded eagerly, not mentioning that his idea of adaptable was surviving on instant noodles for a month. Now, he was trapped, and the crew would probably think he'd done it on purpose. A soft hiss interrupted his spiral of self-pity. The door slid open just a crack, and a figure slipped inside before it sealed shut again with a final, ominous thud. Jake looked up, his breath catching in his throat. It was Commander Kaelis, the ship's leader and the most intimidating woman he'd ever seen. She stood tall, her emerald skin gleaming under the sauna's lights, her long platinum hair cascading over her shoulders like molten silver. Her violet eyes pinned him in place, sharp and unyielding. Her sleek uniform hugged her form, a mix of authority and elegance that made Jake feel like a kid caught stealing cookies. "Human," she said, her voice low and edged with frost. "What is the meaning of this?" Jake scrambled to his feet, nearly tripping over his own boots. "Commander Kaelis, I'm so sorry. I was trying to fix the ventilation, and I think I hit the emergency button." Kaelis stepped closer, her boots clicking on the polished floor. "You have triggered a survival lockdown. This room is now sealed." Jake's stomach twisted. "Yeah, I heard. It said 72 hours, or something about humidity. I didn't mean to, I swear." Her eyes narrowed, studying him like he was a puzzle she didn't want to solve. "You're the maintenance technician, are you not? Fix it." "I'm trying," Jake said, gesturing wildly at the smoking panel. "But this thing's in Zorathian, and I'm not exactly fluent. I don't even know where to start." Kaelis crossed her arms, her expression a mix of disdain and exasperation. "You are useless, human." Jake flinched, his cheeks burning. "I'm not useless. I just need a minute to figure this out." He turned back to the panel, jabbing at random buttons in a panic. The alarms had stopped, but the screen flashed error messages he couldn't read. Sweat poured down his face, and he felt Kaelis' gaze boring into his back. "Cease your fumbling," she snapped, stepping beside him. Her presence was overwhelming, her scent, like starlit flowers, cut through the sauna's steam. "You will explain this humidity requirement." Jake took a shaky breath, forcing himself to focus. "It's the moisture in the air. On Earth, we sweat when it's hot, and that makes things damp. Maybe we can, I don't know, do something to make it happen faster." Kaelis tilted her head, her hair catching the light. "Zorathians do not sweat. Our physiology is superior." Jake blinked. "Superior? You mean you don't get sweaty at all?" "Correct," she said, her tone daring him to argue. "It is inefficient." "Well, that's inconvenient," Jake muttered, scratching his head. He glanced at the panel, then at the locked door, his mind racing. "Okay, maybe I can sweat enough for both of us. Or maybe there's another way to trick the system." Kaelis raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Your confidence is unwarranted. But proceed, human. I expect results." Jake nodded, his throat dry. He had no idea how to get them out of this, but one look at Kaelis' steely expression told him failure wasn't an option. He rolled up his sleeves, his muscles flexing under the damp fabric, and got to work, determined to prove he wasn't as useless as she thought. Jake muttered to himself, running a hand through his sweat-soaked hair. The panel flickered with strange Zorathian symbols, but one line caught his attention, translated by his earpiece. Humidity, 62%. Required, 90%. He glanced at the sealed door's heavy frame, then at Kaelis, who stood arms crossed, her emerald skin gleaming like polished jade. "So, we need to make this place wetter. Like a lot wetter." Kaelis tilted her head, platinum hair shifting. "Veta? Clarify." Jake gestured vaguely at the steamy air. "Moisture. The system needs more of it to unlock the door. On Earth, we sweat buckets in places like this. But you said Zorathians don't sweat, so..." He trailed off, realizing he had no backup plan beyond stating the obvious. Her expression hardened. "Then your plan is flawed. If Zorathians produce no sweat, your solution is impractical." Jake winced but pushed on. "I'm not giving up yet. Maybe I can sweat enough for both of us. Or we can find a way to speed up the humidity." He paced the sauna's slick floor, heat pressing down relentlessly. Then an idea sparked. "Exercise. If I move enough, I'll sweat more." Kaelis' eyes widened, a faint pink flush coloring her green cheeks. "Exercise," she repeated, voice tight. "You propose we engage in physical mating?" Jake froze, jaw dropping. No, God, no. I mean working out, jumping, running, stuff to get sweaty." Her flush deepened, and she stepped back, hand twitching toward her holstered weapon. Your words are reckless, human. On Zorath, exercise implies intimacy. Jake waved his hands frantically. No. Language barrier. I mean physical activity, squats, push-ups, nothing intimate. Please don't shoot me. Kaelis studied him, her piercing gaze weighing truth from nonsense. After a tense moment, she lowered her hand. Very well. Explain these squats and push-ups. Jake let out a shaky breath. Squats are simple. Bend your knees like sitting in a chair, then stand up. Works your legs, makes you sweat if you do enough. He demonstrated, muscles flexing under his damp shirt. See? Easy. Kaelis raised an unimpressed eyebrow. This is your solution? Bending and standing. Hey, it's a start. Jake shrugged. If I sweat enough, maybe we hit 90%. But it'd go faster if you joined. You sure Zorathians don't sweat? Positive, she said flatly. But I will attempt your method to hasten our escape. Jake nodded, surprised. Awesome. Let's do this. He motioned for her to stand beside him in the swirling steam. I'll show you how to squat. One step at a time. Kaelis moved beside him, graceful but stiff, like a soldier marching to execution. She mimicked his stance, feet shoulder width, but her posture was rigid, arms locked at her sides. Jake scratched his neck. Relax. Bend your knees, keep your back straight. Lower down like this. He squatted again, exaggerating the motion. She followed hesitantly, her squat more a hesitant dip, legs wobbling. Straightening quickly, her face flushed with irritation and embarrassment. This feels absurd. It's supposed to. Jake grinned. You're using muscles you don't normally use. Try again, you'll get it. She shot him a look that could melt steel but bent her knees deeper. Her uniform stretched over her athletic frame, and Jake quickly looked away, focusing on his own squats. Good, better. Let's do 10. Count with me. 1, 2. They moved in rough sync. Jake's squats were smooth, honed by years at the gym, but Kaelis' jerky and unsteady. On the 5th squat, she tipped too far forward, stumbling against the wall. This is undignified, she muttered, cheeks burning. Jake chuckled, stopping himself. Hey, you're doing great for a first try. Takes practice. Sweat rolled down his temples as he pushed on. The humidity gauge crept to 64%, but still far from enough. Let's switch to planks, Jake said, wiping his hands on his pants. Hold yourself on elbows and toes like a bridge. Core workout makes you sweat like crazy. He dropped down, body straight. Like this. Hold it as long as you can. Kaelis hesitated, then knelt beside him, cautious. Her form wobbled immediately, arms trembling. This is strenuous. Yeah, planks are brutal, Jake said, muscles burning. Just breathe and hold on. You're tougher than me, I bet. She glanced at him, expression softening briefly before hardening. Do not patronize me, human. Not patronizing, Jake said fast. Just saying, you're commander. Probably train harder than I do. His plank faltered. He collapsed with a grunt. Okay, maybe I'm not the best coach. Kaelis held hers longer, then lowered carefully, sitting back on heels. Her breath was steady, face flushed. Effort or embarrassment, Jake couldn't tell. Your methods are chaotic, she said, brushing hair from her face. But I will continue. We must escape. Jake nodded, rising. Right. More squats. We'll keep going till we drown this place in humidity. He started another set, counting aloud. Kaelis joined, her squats smoother, more determined. The air thickened, heat pressing down, but the gauge barely moved, 65%. Jake's shirt was drenched, legs aching, but he pushed on, determined to prove himself. Kaelis matched his pace, no complaints, eyes flicking to the panel, like willing it to change. Jake noticed her hair, clinging to her neck, a faint sheen on skin despite her claim she didn't sweat. She was trying, really trying, and that gave him hope. Maybe they could pull this off together. Jake's legs burned as he pushed through another set of squats, voice hoarse from counting. 8, 9, 10. He straightened up, wiping sweat from his eyes, and glanced at the humidity gauge, 65%. Barely a dent. The sauna's heat wrapped around him like a soggy blanket, and his shirt clung to him like a wet towel. Kaelis stood nearby, her squats steadier now, though her face still held that fierce mix of irritation and determination. Her emerald skin glistened faintly, not from sweat, she insisted, but from the heavy steam clinging to her. Jake caught her platinum hair plastered to her neck and quickly looked away, pretending to examine the floor. "All right, squats are cool, but we gotta crank it up," Jake said, trying to sound like he had a plan and not just flailing in desperation. "Push-ups next. They're brutal, and I'll be sweating like a pig in no time." Kaelis tilted her head, violet eyes narrowing. "Pig? What manner of creature is this pig?" Jake waved a dismissive hand. "It's a saying. It means I'm going to sweat buckets. Push-ups work your arms, chest, everything. You'll feel it." He dropped to the floor, palms pressing against the slick, warm tiles, legs stretched behind him. "Like this. Lower down, push up, keep your body straight." Kaelis knelt beside him, precise but hesitant, like a soldier carefully defusing a bomb. Her form was stiff, elbows flared wide, back arched awkwardly. Jake bit his lip, fighting the urge to laugh. Elbows closer to your sides. Tighten your core like you're bracing for a punch." She shot him a glare sharp enough to cut glass, but adjusted. Her push-ups smoothed out, and Jake counted 1, 2, 3. His own arm started shaking, every rep feeling like he was lifting a starship. Kaelis kept pace, breath steady, but her cheeks flushed a bright pink that contrasted hilariously with her green skin. Jake wondered if she hated every second or if she was secretly enjoying torturing him. On the 7th push-up, Kaelis' arm wobbled, and she dipped too low, her shoulder brushing Jake's. Instinctively, he reached out to steady her, his hand landing on a patch of shimmering scales hidden beneath her uniform. She gasped, jerking upright so fast she nearly fell over. Her eyes widened, cheeks glowing magenta. "Whoa, sorry." Jake yanked his hand back like he'd touched a live wire. "I didn't mean to. I was just trying to help." Kaelis clutched her side, breathing uneven. "You touched my scales. They are sensitive." Jake's face flamed scarlet, heart pounding. "Sensitive? Oh man, I'm sorry. Are you okay? Did I hurt you?" She shook her head, avoiding his gaze. "Not pain. Personal. Do not touch again." "Got it." "No touching," Jake said, hands up like he'd surrendered. "Not trying to make this weirder than it already is." He forced a laugh. "Guess I'm batting 1,000 for dumb moves today, huh?" Kaelis' lips twitched, almost a smile, before she schooled her expression. "Your clumsiness is consistent. Let's continue." Humidity remains insufficient. Jake nodded gratefully, eager for the subject change. "Right, push-ups, round 2. They dropped down again. The air felt charged now, a weird, awkward energy buzzing between them. Jake kept his eyes glued to the floor, counting faster to drown out the tension. Kaelis' push-ups were steadier, but she kept a careful distance, deliberate in her movements. After 10 more, Jake's arms gave out, and he collapsed onto the tiles with a dramatic groan. "Okay, I need a breather." He slumped against the wall, the warm stone soothing his aching muscles. The gauge read 67%. Progress. Barely. Kaelis sat cross-legged nearby, posture flawless despite the heat. "You're holding up better than me," Jake admitted. "This sauna's a killer." Kaelis brushed damp hair from her face. "Zorathians train for endurance. Your efforts are not entirely futile." The humidity rises slow but steady. Jake grinned, soaking it up. "I'll take that as a win." He stretched, wincing as his shoulders protested. "Back on Earth, I messed up plenty. Once I fried a hoverbike system trying to fix a headlight. Client chased me with a wrench." Kaelis raised an eyebrow, curious. "You speak of failure so casually. Why?" Jake shrugged, picking at a loose thread on his pants. "Guess I'm used to it. Been bouncing around jobs since I was a kid. Fix whatever, wherever. This gig? Longest I've stuck with anything. Figured I'd finally get it right." He chuckled hollowly. "So much for that." Kaelis was silent, eyes tracing steam swirling in the air. "Command is not unlike your bouncing. One wrong move, and trust crumbles. I cannot afford carelessness." Jake blinked, surprised by the softness. "Sounds heavy. You're running the whole ship." I crash it into an asteroid day one. Her lips curve in a fleeting, warm smile. You underestimate yourself, human. Your persistence is notable. She cleared her throat. But we waste time. Resume exercises. Jake stood, legs shaky but heart lighter. Notable. I'll take it. He caught a spark in her eyes. Okay, lunges next. Step forward, bend knee, push back. Demonstrating, he nearly slipped on the slick floor, but caught himself. Your turn. Kaelis followed, clumsy but determined, arms flailing like a newborn giraffe. Jake couldn't help but laugh. Hey, baby giraffe. Cute. Cute. She snapped, cheeks flaming. She stumbled mid-lunge, landing on one knee. Mock me at your peril. Wouldn't dream of it. Jake grinned, offering a hand, then pulled back, remembering the scales incident. Are you good? She stood, brushing off uniform. I am capable, she said, tone lighter, almost playful. They resumed lunges, steps echoing side by side. Jake's sweat dripped onto the floor, gauge nudged to 68%. Kaelis moved smoother, confidence growing, and Jake caught her stealing glances, her expression softer than before. They paused, Jake slumping against the wall, Kaelis closer now, shoulder inches from his. Silence stretched comfortably, earlier tension fading. Jake looked at her, no longer just a commander, but a woman, smart, driven, maybe a little vulnerable under that armor. And, trying just like him, Kaelis met his gaze, lips parting as if to speak, then looked away, tucking hair behind her ear. We must continue, she said abruptly, standing. Humidity is still inadequate. Jake pushed up, heart lighter. Yeah, let's keep at it. He dropped for another set of push-ups, Kaelis joining, their breaths sinking in the stifling heat. Gauge hovered at 69%. Hope flickered. They were getting somewhere. Maybe, just maybe, they were starting to understand each other. Jake's arms trembled as he pushed through another set of push-ups, his palms slipping on the sauna's slick tiles. Sweat poured off him, pooling on the floor, but the humidity gauge on the control panel mocked his efforts. 69%. The air was thick, heavy with steam that clung to his skin, and the golden glow from the crystalline walls seemed to pulse in time with his racing heart. Kaelis matched his pace beside him, her push-ups steadier now, her emerald skin shimmering in the heat. Her platinum hair swayed with each movement, and Jake caught the faintest hint of her starlit flower scent cutting through the herbal steam. He focused on counting 8, 9, 10, to keep his mind off how close she was, their elbows nearly brushing. He collapsed onto his stomach with a groan, his muscles screaming. Okay, I'm tapped out for a sec. He rolled onto his back, staring at the ceiling, where steam swirled in lazy patterns. Kaelis lowered herself to the floor more gracefully, sitting cross-legged, her breathing steady, but her face still flushed that soft magenta. She glanced at the gauge, her violet eyes narrowing, and Jake could tell she was as frustrated as he was. We're inching up, he said, trying to sound optimistic. 69%. That's something. Kaelis tucked a damp strand of hair behind her ear, her fingers lingering there. Something, but not enough. Her voice was sharp, but there was a softer edge to it, like she was starting to believe they might actually pull this off. She stood, brushing off her uniform, and started pacing the small space, her boots clicking softly. Your efforts are substantial, but the system is stubborn. Jake sat up, wiping his face with his sleeve. Yeah, this sauna's got a grudge. But we're not quitting. He climbed to his feet, his legs wobbly, and scanned the room for inspiration. The hot stone wall at the far end caught his eye, its surface radiating heat that made the air shimmer. An idea flickered, but he pushed aside for now. It felt too bold, too close. Let's try jumping jacks. Shake things up. Kaelis stopped pacing, her expression skeptical. Jumping jacks. Trust me, they're a sweat machine, Jake said, grinning. He spread his arms and legs, jumping in place, his boots slapping the tiles. Like this. Arms up, legs out, then back. Go fast, and you'll feel it. She watched him for a moment, then copied the motion, her jumps precise but stiff, like a soldier tried to dance. Her uniform strained slightly with each leap, and Jake focused on his own jumps to avoid staring. They counted together, their voices overlapping, 1, 2, 3, and the rhythm steadied them, a shared beat in the stifling heat. Jake's shirt was drenched, sweat dripping into his eyes, and the gauge ticked up to 70%. Progress, but still agonizingly slow. Kaelis' jumps faltered on the 20th, her breath hitching. She stopped, pressing a hand to her chest, her face twisting in confusion. "Something is wrong," she said, her voice unsteady. Before Jake could ask, a faint sheen appeared on her forehead, sparkling like liquid crystal. Tiny droplets traced down her temple, catching the light, and her skin began to glow. Not the soft shimmer from before, but a radiant, pearlescent pulse that lit up the sauna like a star. Her entire body shimmered, her emerald hue deepening, her hair glowing like spun moonlight. Jake's jaw dropped. "Whoa, Kaelis, you're glowing. Like really glowing." She stumbled back, her eyes wide with panic. "No, this cannot be." She pressed her hands to her face, trying to cover the light, but it seeped through her fingers, casting dazzling patterns on the walls. Her breathing turned ragged, and she sank to her knees, clutching her arms around herself. "You must not see this." Jake rushed to her side, stopping short of touching her, his hands hovering awkwardly. "Hey, what's wrong? Are you hurt? Talk to me." His heart pounded, not just from the exercise, but from the raw fear in her voice, so unlike her usual steel. Kaelis shook her head, her hair falling over her face like a curtain. "It is my heritage," she whispered, barely audible. "I am of Zorathian nobility. This glow, this sweat, it betrays me. I have hidden it to avoid those who would hunt me for my lineage." She looked up, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "If this is known, I lose everything, my command, my home." Jake's chest tightened. He'd never seen her like this, vulnerable and scared, her commander's mask shattered. "Okay, whoa, slow down," he said, kneeling in front of her, careful to keep his distance. "Nobody's here but me, and I'm not telling a soul. I swear, Kaelis, my lips are sealed." She stared at him, her glow pulsing faintly, as if tied to her heartbeat. "Why should I trust you, human? You are reckless, clumsy." Jake grinned, hoping to lighten her fear. "Yeah, I'm a mess. Remember that time I blew a fuse trying to fix a coffee maker? Whole crew went without caffeine for a week. But here's the thing. I'm terrible at fixing stuff, but I'm real good at keeping promises. Your secret's safe with me." Kaelis' shoulders relaxed slightly, and a shaky laugh escaped her, soft and unexpected. "You are absurd," she said, but her voice held a warmth he hadn't heard before. She wiped her face, the glowing droplets smearing across her skin, and stood, her glow dimming but still present. "We cannot dwell on this. The humidity, focus on the task." Jake nodded, standing too, but his mind was reeling. Nobility? Hunters? Kaelis was way more than a commander, and he just stumbled into something huge. He glanced at the gauge, 71% now. Maybe from her sweat, a small miracle. But they were still far from 90%. He paced, his boots slipping on the wet floor, and his eyes landed on the hot stone wall again. The idea from earlier resurfaced, and his face heated up just thinking about it. "All right, hear me out," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "We're not getting there fast enough with jumping jacks. That wall over there, it's crazy hot, right? If we, press ourselves against it like together, it might vaporize my sweat faster. Boost the humidity." He hesitated, his voice dropping. "I mean, I have to hold you close. To maximize the heat." Kaelis' glow flared briefly, and her flush returned, brighter than ever. "You suggest embracing me?" Her voice was a mix of disbelief and something softer, almost curious. Jake's ears burned. "Yeah, but like for science. To get us out of here. I know it's weird, and I'm not trying to look, we're running out of options." He gestured at the gauge, his heart racing. "Unless you've got a better idea." She crossed her arms, her glow pulsing in time with her thoughts. After a long moment, she sighed, her shoulders slumping. "Your logic is sound, though I question your motives." Her lips twitched, almost a tease, but her eyes were nervous. "Very well, we will embrace. Jake swallowed hard, his throat dry despite the humidity. Okay, cool. Let's do this. He led her to the wall, its heat radiating like a furnace. He turned to face her, suddenly hyper-aware of how close they were, her scent stronger now, her glow casting soft light across his face. So, I'll put my arms around you, and we'll lean against the wall. Ready? Kaelis nodded, her expression a mix of resolve and unease. Jake stepped closer, his hands hovering before gently settling on her shoulders. Her skin was cool under his palms, despite the heat, and her glow seemed to hum against his touch. He guided her back until she pressed against the wall, the stone hissing as it met her damp uniform. He wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close, his chest against hers, their bodies fitting together like puzzle pieces. His sweat-soaked shirt stuck to her, and he felt her tense, her breath catching. Relax, he murmured, his voice shaky. Just breathe. We're just raising the humidity, right? He leaned in, his weight pressing them both against the wall, the heat searing through his back. Steam rose around them, thick and heavy, and he felt her heart pounding against his chest, fast and strong. Kaelis' hands rested lightly on his waist, her fingers trembling. This is unconventional, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her glow softened, and her body relaxed slightly, molding against his. Jake's pulse raced, not just from the heat but from the warmth of her, the way her breath brushed his neck. He tried to focus on the gauge, but all he could think about was her closeness, the way she wasn't pulling away. The gauge climbed 73%, then 75%, the steam thickening as their combined heat worked its magic. Jake's arms tightened instinctively, and Kaelis didn't resist, her head tilting to rest against his shoulder. Her scent enveloped him, and for a moment the sauna, the lockdown, the gauge, it all faded. There was just her, glowing and real, trusting him in a way he hadn't expected. "You okay?" he asked, his voice rough, barely audible over the hiss of steam. She nodded, her cheek brushing his collarbone. "I am not uncomfortable," she said, and he caught the faintest smile in her voice. Her fingers pressed a little firmer against his waist, and Jake's heart skipped. This wasn't just about humidity anymore, and they both knew it. Jake's arms ached, wrapped tightly around Kaelis, her glowing body pressed against him as they leaned into the scorching stone wall. The sauna's steam swirled, thick with herbal scent and her starlit flower essence, the heat searing through his soaked shirt. Kaelis' hands rested on his waist, steady and firm, her cheek brushing his collarbone, her breath warm against his skin. The humidity gauge glowed faintly, 78% and climbing, their combined heat turning sweat to vapor. Jake's heart pounded, not just from the effort, but from her closeness, her glow pulsing softly, like a rhythm echoing his own. He shifted slightly, keeping the embrace, and glanced at the gauge. "We're close," he whispered, voice rough. 90's in sight. Kaelis tilted her head, violet eyes locking onto his, closer than ever. "Your plan succeeds," she murmured, a faint smile softening her lips. Her glow warmed, casting light across his face, and for a moment, Jake forgot the sauna, the lockdown, everything but her. A sharp hiss broke the spell, followed by a mechanical groan. The gauge flashed green, 90%, and the heavy doors slid open with a clang, cool air rushing in. Jake blinked, startled, as Kaelis tensed in his arms. Footsteps stormed forward, voices overlapping in a frantic chorus. "Commander!" a Zorathian crew member shouted, her tone sharp with panic. 3 women in sleek uniforms burst in, emerald skin gleaming, eyes wide as they spotted Kaelis. "You're glowing. Are you ill?" Kaelis stepped back, her glow flaring briefly as she smoothed her uniform, regaining her commander's poise despite a faint magenta flush. "I am unharmed," she said, voice crisp but steady. Jake stumbled away, legs wobbly from heat and the sudden shift. The crew's gazes darted between him and Kaelis, confusion etched on their faces. A shorter Zorathian with cropped platinum hair pointed at Kaelis's shimmering skin. That glow, it's not right. We need medical. No. Kaelis snapped, raising a hand. No concern is necessary. She glanced at Jake, her eyes flickering with something, gratitude, or a silent signal. Jake's brain scrambled, face burning as he realized how this looked. Him, sweaty and disheveled, inches from their glowing commander. It's just exercise, he blurted, rubbing his neck. Special workouts to boost the humidity. For the doors. The glow's, stress relief. Totally normal. The crew blinked, suspicion easing to curiosity. The short-haired one tilted her head. Workouts? That did that. She gestured at Kaelis's pearlescent skin, glowing under the lights. Yeah, Jake said, forcing a grin. Intense stuff. Squats, push-ups, wall presses. Gets the blood pumping. He cringed internally, hoping he didn't sound as ridiculous as he felt. Kaelis's lips twitched, and she nodded. The human's methods were unorthodox, but effective. The lockdown is lifted. She pointed to the open doors, her glow dimming, blending into the sauna's golden haze. The crew exchanged glances, then smiled, tension dissolving. The tallest, with long braids, clapped Jake's shoulder, nearly knocking him over. Well done, human. You saved the commander. We thought she was stuck with a broken panel. Jake laughed, scratching his head. Just doing my job. Kinda. He caught Kaelis's eye, and she gave a subtle nod, her face softening briefly before snapping back to steel. Return to your posts, Kaelis ordered, voice sharp. I will debrief with the technician. The crew hesitated, then saluted and filed out, their chatter fading as the doors hissed shut, leaving Jake and Kaelis alone. Jake exhaled, slumping against the wall, the stone now cool. Close call. Thought they'd haul you to a med bay. Kaelis stepped closer, boots clicking, her glow nearly gone but her eyes bright. Your quick thinking was adequate, she said, a teasing lilt in her voice. She studied him, then added, join me in my quarters to discuss your methods and offer thanks. Jake's heart lurched, throat dry. Quarters, he croaked. Like a debrief? Her lips curved into a warm, unguarded smile. Debrief. And more. Her gaze held his, sparking with intent, and Jake's stomach flipped, catching her meaning. Yeah, sure, he said, aiming for cool but sounding like a nervous kid. Lead the way, Commander. She turned, platinum hair swaying, and led him from the sauna, the corridor's cool air a shock after hours of heat. Her quarters, on the upper deck, were sleek, with crystalline walls glowing soft silver, a calm contrast to the sauna's intensity. Kaelis closed the door, the click loud in the quiet, and faced him, her uniform hugging her form, her expression a mix of resolve and something softer, almost vulnerable. Jake, she said, his name warm on her lips, a first. You surprised me today. You kept my secret, stayed true. She stepped closer, her glow faintly returning, a halo around her. I misjudged you. He swallowed, pulse racing. I'm used to being underestimated. Glad I didn't screw this up too bad. He grinned, but her closeness scrambled his thoughts, her scent wrapping around him. Kaelis's eyes softened, and she closed the gap, hands cupping his face, her touch cool and electric. She pulled him into a kiss, lips warm and firm, tasting of starlit flowers. Jake froze, brain blanking, then leaned in, hands finding her waist, pulling her close. The kiss deepened, fierce and hungry, her glow flaring like a starburst, bathing the room in light. His fingers grazed her scales, and she pressed tighter, hands sliding to his shoulders, nails digging in. Their breaths mingled, the heat between them rivaling the saunas, and Jake's heart hammered, every nerve alight. The door slammed shut with a resounding thud, sealing them in the silver-lit room.